what we have before us is our 4x4 board. When you came in, hopefully you received this 4x4 card. It should have been in your bulletin. And this is what we're asking. We're asking for all of our church family to be a part of this 4x4 process. It's a way of loving God and loving others, and a way of hoping and praying that others will also come to love our God. It's a way, it's a plan. And so we've asked all of our Sunday school classes to put this board up in their Sunday school room. And then over the last several weeks, and a couple more weeks, several of these classes have been working through our 4x4 curriculum, and they'll be working through this process. Some of you do not attend class, and that's okay. Some are watching online, and so we've provided a way for you also to participate in this 4x4 process using an online, through our website, reporting plan. And so if you go to our main web page, you can scroll down just a little bit. There's several little boxes or circles you could click. One of those says 4x4 reporting. And in that, it'll allow you to report in a somewhat similar way that we're asking the Sunday school classes to also report. And so this is the process. And Ryan, you've helped us a lot talk about this process. Just quickly, again, remind us about how this is a way that we can do what God has called us to do.
I think if you look at it, and you've heard me talk before about how this is more or less a strategy that we can use in a way for us to witness to others. The Long Range Planning Committee about 2 years ago underwent a strategic planning, and one of our goals was, how do we reach the lost? And through that process, we were introduced to this. And so I think once you really understand it, you can come to see that it is a very simple way that we can strategically focus and be intentional about how we witness to those in and around our community and those that are involved in our lives.
Yeah, and the first thing we have to do before we can move forward is this first box, which is called identify. And we have to identify people that God has placed upon our heart that maybe we don't know if they know Jesus or not. And so, Ryan, tell us a little bit about the goal and how somebody might come about identifying people.
So I know for me personally, when we first started this process, I was still working at the Chamber of Commerce, and so I was really around a lot of people. And so I started to think about, people that were in my life every day. And for me, it was relatively easy to come up with 4 people because a big part of my job was talking to people and getting to know them. And then there was always subtle instances where I could pick up on to know that they didn't know the Lord, or maybe that they knew the Lord, but they had fallen away in their relationship. And so I very easily and very quickly listed those 4 on my card when we initiated this probably about 1.5 years ago. Right.
And so identifying people, what if you don't know many people? I know we had one lady one time said, all I know is Christians. And so how do I go about identifying people?
And that's a good question that many people may be asking themselves. Well, everybody I know, or my circle, or the people that I go to church with, well, and I know this time right now makes things challenging in a lot of ways for us. But it could be very easily, you may have a favorite restaurant that you go to every week. You may meet with some friends, and it may be a waiter or waitress that always waits on you. It could be, a hairdresser or a barber. It could be someone that you see routinely, whether it's at the bank or it could be at the convenience store. I mean, you always are encountering people in your life every day. And so it's just a matter of taking that effort and showing love and compassion and talking and getting to know these people. And then, like for myself, you might pick up. There might be a subtle way that maybe I need to put this person on my 4x4 list.
Great. And that's a way of loving others. And so we've got a card on here for you, and you can take this kind of handout home, cut that card off, put it in your wallet, put it in your purse, put it on your mirror at home, put it on your dash on the car. But the first step really is starting to identify some people that God has placed upon your heart. You might say, I don't have 4 people. Start with 1. All right, just 1. Who's the one person that I think God maybe wants me to begin praying for, begin investing in, and begin eventually inviting them to Jesus? 1 person, 2 people, 3, 4. If you say, you know what, I got 20 people. Okay, that's fine. Identify them, but start at least with 1, maybe to 4. Put them down on the card. That's what we're asking everybody to do. Go home today. If you haven't already, pray, ask God who at least your 1 might be, and then put them on the card and take the challenge of being a part of the 4x4. So once you do that, this is when you go to a Sunday school class. Some of you have started to do this. We're going to ask you to take a pen, these large pens here with large heads on them, and a marker and a Sharpie. And they'll be available for you in your class. If you don't attend a class and want to grab a couple of these pens, come by the office. We'll give you some. You can just use the top part of this card at home, and you can put it on a bulletin board at home or put it somewhere, and you can follow this process like this there if you want, again, or use online. But in Sunday school class, you're going to come in. You're going to write on your pens either your initials. So like I've got on here NB1. I've got 3 names I've listed. And so I've got NB1, NB2, and NB3. Or if you prefer, you can put the person's initials that you're praying for on the top of the pen head. And every pen will then begin in the identify section. And then we're going to ask, when you come, each person individually, as you've listed and you put your pens in the identify section, to come and then move it to the intercede section. And so I'm going to come in and I'm going to take mine, all that are mine. I'm going to move it to here if I can get in there. Here we go. And I've got another one, so I'll move it over here because I have prayed for them. And Ryan, he comes into his class, he'll do the same thing. He'll pick out a couple, and maybe he prayed for one, and he actually invited somebody, or invested, whatever it is, and invited. He did all those kind of things this week with 3 different people. And so you all do that. And intercede, intercede is praying. We would just pray every day or once a week for people, right, Ryan?
Yeah, and one of the things, just trying to keep up with the 4 ideas, and when we learned about this, was pray at least 4 times a week. And this whole process is really about creating habits. And one of the things that was suggested was, cut this out and put it somewhere in your vehicle, in your dashboard. You're going to get in your vehicle multiple times, and maybe it's just every time you get in and you see that, take a moment right there to stop and pray for your 4x4. For me and myself, if I'm praying for our church, that we will accept this and that we will use this and bring it in a part of our church on a daily, weekly, annual basis, and that it has become a new habit for us.
Yeah, so we'll pray and then go a little bit about investing and inviting. What are we talking about? How would somebody invest in someone or invite somebody?
So investing, there's going to be lots of different ways that you can invest. And it may be just as simple as picking up the phone and calling and talking to them. For me, in my day of life, it may be calling and inviting them to lunch, and go have lunch sometime, or maybe breakfast. It could be, you got a fishing boat. Take them fishing, take them hunting, or maybe, for you ladies, and it may be Keno or Bunko, and inviting them to come and play and be a part of a group and just spending time to get to know that person so that you're developing that relationship, you're developing that trust, and, then hopefully by being with that person that will come about an opportunity to invite. And what is that invitation, or what does invite mean? It could be inviting them to church. It could be inviting them or asking them for salvation, or it could be one of the things that we're looking at down the road, hopefully, as COVID starts to dissipate and go away, and that we'll be looking at ways for the church to create events, to both invest and invite people. It may be your Sunday school class, specifically may want to find a way to get your group together and invite other people, your 4x4 people, to come and be a part of what you're doing.
That's right. Very simple. This is just a process or a way, a strategy for doing evangelism. So we've got a Sunday school class that's going to display this for us. I'm going to reset the board here. We're going to put all these back up there. I'm going to ask the multiply class, let me move this out of the way, to come. And they just pretend they've just started Sunday school. They're coming in. Go ahead, multiply class. Come on down and come and move your pens on the board. Doesn't matter. There you go. Let everybody move theirs. All right, great job. Was that easy? Perfect, easy, great. See, they just come over there and they move all their pens in certain areas. And you can see we have 16 pens on the board, if you haven't already counted them. And so 16 people have been identified already that they know, that they don't know if they know Christ or not. They've been identified upon their heart, 16 of them. Looks like, was that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? All 16 have been prayed for, but 9 have been prayed for as well, left over in that box. There's been, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the invest section, and 2 more in the invite section. And so they would report that on their Sunday school roll. If you're doing this at home, you go to our report section and you make those reports. And then we ask one more thing. We ask them to share a story about one of their encounters. And so, Ryan, you've got 3 here volunteers. So check with them and let's see what kind of stories they might have.
Johnny, so tell us a little bit about your week this week in 4x4.
Well, I've had an opportunity in my line of work, same way as Ryan. I don't have a problem talking to people about God or about salvation or anything. So I enjoy it. I enjoy when I have the opportunity for one of my customers to come in and it's like Ryan, you know, sometimes we can kind of pick things out in our conversations with them to know whether they're saved or not, even by their attitudes or actions. So for me, it gives me an opportunity for those doors to get open so I can spend time with them. And I have customers that come in my office that I get to pray with. And I've had customers come in my office that I've actually walked through the plan of salvation. And so, but I've got one in particular that this week that I've been working with, and his name's John. That's all I'm going to give you. And but anyway, he was very active in church, not here, but very active in church. And he kind of got out of it. And he would always come into the office, and while he was going to church, man, he was very excited about it, talking about God and church and salvation and stuff. But then I kind of noticed him getting out of church. And so it gave me an opportunity I identified him, I interceded in his life, and then I started investing in time with him by talking to him and praying with him. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's kind of in a situation where he needed some money. And so I loaned him some money. And, he's like, I'll pay you back, I'll pay you. I was like, listen, you can pay me back if you want. If you don't worry about it. Let's just move on. But it just gives me that time to invest in him. Not just money, but time and prayer. But I got a chance to pray with him. Okay. And I also invited him to church. Now, he is active in another church and stuff, but that's kind of how the process went for me, and it's been good.
Okay. Thanks. Chris, tell about a little bit about your experience this week.
This week, I was actually looking on Facebook, which I don't do terribly often, but I saw a post from a guy that I used to spend a lot of time with, and but I haven't in recent years, and he posted a kind of a sad post, kind of made me think, man, and a lot of times maybe if I saw that I wouldn't maybe respond much other than in my head, and or maybe I might pray for him, but in going through this and praying for God to bring people in my life to invest in, I thought much more about it. And I thought, I need to reach out to him and actually do something. And so I talked about it with Sam and prayed for him over the next day or two. And I just, as simple as just sent him a text message, told him that I had read that, and I thought maybe he was going through some stuff that I could, just be a friend to listen to. And I just invited him out to my shop one night, because that's what I do. So we could just come hang out and just see where he's at. So he said we would do that. We haven't yet, and then hopefully it'll proceed to inviting him to church and, see how it goes.
Amen. Great.
Michael, what about you?
Well, for me personally, I look at this board and we talk about it subconsciously. We talked about this morning how subconsciously we're doing this all the time if we're doing it right. But for me, I look at the board and I see identify and I see invest as an educator. That's my job, right? Other people who are in education in this room, that's easy for me. But for Johnny, he said for him to intercede and invite is easy. For me, that's not easy. So I think for everybody, we look at this a little bit differently. But anyways, my story, I haven't made it to the green yet. I haven't made it to invite. It's not easy for me. For me, orange and blue is real easy. But so my story is that I made it to blue, not even realizing that I had done it. I have an athlete, and obviously I'm not allowed to say his name. I have an athlete who has some home issues and has some mental health issues, and all the coaches have identified this young man, and he's hard to get to sometimes, and he's very reluctant. So I've prayed for this young man quite a bit on my own, and anyways, God put this young man in a situation with me the other day, and it was pretty special. Usually at lunch, there's a lot of teachers and coaches sitting in there supervising the kids and just having some time together. But on this particular day, it was Wednesday, I was there all by myself. And so I'm sitting at this big table by myself, and there's kids doing all this crazy stuff, running around. I'm trying to keep them in the cage, right? But this kid who him and myself have had a rough go through athletics, and he just walks up and sits down at the table. And in that moment, God was helping me with my 4x4, because I wouldn't have invited him to my table. But he walked down and he sat down, and we ended up talking about everything. We talked about life, death, drugs, girlfriends. We talked about so much stuff. And the reason I didn't make it to the green is because I'm not good at that. And so I pray that God will give me the strength to go from investing to inviting. Because I had every opportunity in that moment. I need to pray for my own self to grow through the 4x4 so that I can move from invest to invite. So there's my story.
Amen. All right, give these guys a round of applause. Also, praise faith, multiply. Thanks for dropping there. Thank y'all for doing that. So I've been asked, why this poster? Why this board? Ryan mentioned probably a year and a half, I think, we've presented this process to the church. God's led us through that. And, God has been great and has brought some people to the Lord. We got a testimony video. We'll show you this in just a moment. But I think it really boils down, for me, accountability. We're going to ask those who are officers or who are serving in other places, not in a Sunday school class, to also maybe come to the choir room. We've got a board we're going to set up there. And we're going to, as well, have our pins and people that we've identified. And we're going to take 5 minutes on a Sunday, and we're going to walk through that process for my accountability. And I believe this is a great way to encourage one another. It's a great way to help one another. It's a great way for us to be about what God has called us to be. Ryan, any other thoughts that you have on why this board, why this process?
Well, you talked a little bit about accountability, but I look at it and I see encouragement and I see celebration. We heard a few stories just a minute ago, and it really, for me, just listening there gives me a lot of hope and encouragement of what this can do and how lives are being changed. And maybe, I can encourage Michael, and ask him, well, how did it go this week? And for us just to talk amongst our class, again, to be there and support one another, because it's the church. It is us working together, using God as a way to witness to those in our community and those that are in our lives. The other part of it, aside from encouragement, is success or celebration. To be able to witness and see people using this and seeing lives come to Christ. Nathan, when you gave your State of the Church address and you announced that we only had 6 people that were baptized, I was just completely taken by that, and that, there are so many people hurting in this community, and we only saw 6 people saved and baptized. And so my hope is, and my prayer, and my focus this year is going to be that we see that number maybe double to 12, maybe at least 1 a month, maybe 24, 2 a month, and just watch this church to go out into this community and share the love of God and see people come and be saved.
Amen. I agree. 6 last year. Let's see 26. Let's see 25. Let's see whatever the Lord brings. If we follow this process, and it is a way. It is a way of doing it. Caleb mentioned in our staff meeting a couple of weeks ago about the D.L. Moody quote, and I'll just read it to you. I think it speaks to this. It says, "A woman approached the great evangelist D.L. Moody to air a grievance. The woman said to him, 'Mr. Moody, I don't like the way you do evangelism.' 'Well, ma'am, let me ask you, how do you do it?' Moody asked. She replied, 'I don't.' Moody responded, 'Well, I like my way of doing it better than your way of not doing it.'" And you might not like this way, but it is a way for us as a church to be about the call of evangelism. And so we're excited about presenting this with you today. I'm going to go ahead and ask Mel to come on up, and Ryan, thank you for this. Move this off. I will mention, too, one more thing is as you're done with this in your class, you just reset the board, and you move all the pins back to the orange identifier so that it can start all over the next week.